is Introduction to the Database. Introduction to the database. In this unit, we are going to see the purpose of database system, the point that we are going to cover in this unit, the purpose of database system, view of data, along with database architecture, simple architecture of database, then roles in the database environment, the entity relationship model, entity relationship diagram, reduction to relational schemas, introduction to relational model, relational query languages. So these points we are going to cover. In the units in the syllabus, what are the units, what practical we are going to perform. So how you can define a definition of database is collection of interrelated data or related data. Okay, tables, this is the next part. First we see it is a collection of interrelated data. Why we say interrelated data? That is important word. Related data means, can you store the bank and university together? No, you cannot store, correct? Bank and university data together. Means we need to store bank related data in different way, or we need to store university related data in different way. Means what? The data, whatever we are going to collect, it should be related with each other. Means if we say the university student, we can say the courses, we can say the faculties or the staff, departments, etc. All these are together. Correct? So this we call it as a database is a collection of interrelated data. Now see, one of my suggestion is a database is a collection of interrelated data or related data. Now see, only storing the data in the database or storing the information in the database, it is sufficient. Means we create the tables of the students. Here some of the applications. So bank transactions, banking is one of the application. Then airlines, airline reservation, their schedules, flight numbers, flight employees, you can say, etc. Time, flight time, all these. Then universities, registration, grades, students, staff, courses, departments, etc. Sales, customers, product, purchases, price, all these things, stocks. Online retailers, order tracking, customized recommendations. For example, our Amazon and all these online retailers are there. Flipkart, that also needs the database. Manufacturing, our industries, manufacturing industries, we need to keep the records of production, inventory, orders, supply, customers, etc. Human resources means, for example, government offices, the employee record, their salaries, tax deduction, everything related to the employee. So these are very few examples. Now see, everywhere nowadays we use the database. So many applications are there, or we can say more than or nearby everywhere we use. For as I already told you that Aadhaar link, or you can say Aadhaar related, income tax related, our Moodle database, everywhere. From small organization to big organization, everywhere the database concept is required. And here we are going to study all these basic concepts. The database can be very large. A small organization, the tables or the values or the records which are stored may be small scale. But if we consider a big organization, the values or the records may be very large scale. So it is from small organization to large organization. Everyone or enterprises, everyone uses the database. So everyone clear with the basic definition of database? Always remember, it is the collection of interrelated data and set of programs to access the data. And whatever the database we are creating, it should be convenient and efficient to use. In such a way we need to create it. So database touches all the aspects of our lives. Now, given. So before start with our next part, which values or information required for the university, that we are going to see. So it includes the collection of student information with their ID, name, department name, total credits. with the courses, the course ID, title, department name and credit, instructors, departments, then classrooms. Don't see the remaining things. This we will see later on. So these are the major collection or records we need. For example, student, third year student, second year student, final year student, first year student, their name, department name, total credits, etc. For courses, you can consider database engineering course. ID should be 503. Title, database engineering, department name, computer science. What are the credits? 4 credits are there for this course or 3 credits for this course. Then instructor, for example, ID, my name, department name, computer science, my salary. Then department name such as computer science, building, main buildings, we can say in budget, whatever the budget assigned to that department for that particular year. Then classroom, in which building you have classroom, for example, for computer science, it is in the main building. Room number, CSCR01, you can say what is the capacity, we can say 40 students can sit or 80 students can sit in the classroom. So such kind of information, simple, it is just simple. So many requirements are there, correct? But among that, some we are going to see as an example. So this example we are going to use throughout the entire syllabus. So you need to remember these things such as we need the information of student, department, instructor, courses and classroom. Remaining things we will see later on. Everyone clear? Okay. Now we start with the next part. Before database, what was used? How the information is stored before the database. So before database, the information is stored in traditional file-based system, means operating file system. For example, we can say in Excel, in PDF, in Word, in this way. Any file operating system files are used to store the information. So one way to keep the information before database on a computer is to store it in operating system files. Now, if consider that database is not there, means we are using some simple operating system files to store the information. So which kind of programs we require to store here? Add new student, correct? Students, if a new student is entered, for example, first year students, so we need to add the students for that particular course, whatever the department, etc. We need to add the instructor. If a new faculty join to the college, we need to add the information about the faculty. And if a new course started, then we need to add the information related to that course, such as what is the course number, what is the title, what credits are there for the course. If a new department is there, then we need to add information about the department. If any department is removed or stop in the college, for example, our information technology, now it is not in our college. So in that case, we need to delete the information about that department. If some courses are removed, then we need to delete the information related to that courses. So such kind of application programs need to be right to add, to update or to delete. For example, update means in our department before 2 years back there were 60 students entry. Now last year it's 120. Now this year it is 180. So it is increased, means we need to increase or need to update the number of students every time. So for that we need to write some application programs. Then register student for the courses, means suppose you are joined to the first year, need to register to the computer science course or some other courses, such as you are joined to the database engineering course, joined with the computer science department, generate class rosters, means your roll calls, PRN numbers, etc. Assign grades to the students after your examination, compute grade point, average CGPA, SGPA, whatever, and generate transcript. So to perform all these things, what we need to do? We need to write the application programs. Now, when we use the traditional file-based system or conventional file-based system, operating system, these records are stored in operating system files. But it is very difficult to write the application program to extract the information from such kind of file system. Now we are going to see what are the drawbacks of this conventional or traditional file processing system first, and then we start with the The first drawback that we can say data redundancy and data inconsistency. Now see what is meant by redundancy and what is meant by inconsistency, because these two words we are going to use in the entire syllabus, and that's why to understand what is it first important. Now the data stored in multiple file formats, correct? Multiple files are used in traditional file processing system. For example, suppose you are the student in third year and you have registered for 5 courses, different courses. Then suppose your information is stored in 5 courses. For example, you are registered for the database, you are registered for OS, you are registered for APL, all these courses you are registered now as you are in the third year. If the information related to you is stored in 5 courses, for example, your name, your roll number, your address, your phone number, etc. For example, name, roll number, address and your phone number. Suppose this information is stored in all these 5 courses. What happens? It creates unnecessary duplication. Your address may be very large, which requires more storage space. So this creates the redundancy. What we call it as a redundancy. Duplication of the data is known as redundancy. So remember that if in conventional or traditional file processing system, the major drawback is redundancy. Everyone clear with what is redundancy? So in the data redundancy, duplication of records are there. For example, your address, name, number, and your address, your phone number may be duplicated in 5 course files. Now, this is about redundancy. What is the next? Along with the redundancy, inconsistency may occur. Now, what is meant by inconsistency? See here, suppose your address or your phone number is stored in 5 courses in the database, in OS, in APL, all these courses, and your address has been changed. If that address is replicated in only one file or 2 files and not the other courses, in 1 or 2 courses, not the other courses, then what happens? Incorrect information is stored in some of the course files. So when we retrieve the data, and if we retrieve it from the course file where it is not replicated, then the user gets incorrect information, and that is known as data inconsistency. When the user retrieves incorrect information, then we call it as a data inconsistency. See once again, suppose we are storing the data, same data in multiple files, then it creates data redundancy or duplication of the data which require more storage or waste of storage space. Then if this duplication of information is there, and if we update the information or need to update the information and it is replicated in only 1 or 2 files and remaining it is remains as it is, then while we retrieve the data, we may or get the incorrect information. So in that case, it results in data inconsistency. So you need to remember these two words always, data redundancy and data inconsistency. Everyone clear with this inconsistency concept? Okay. Now we move towards the next. As already one of the students says, searching is difficult. Now, difficulty in accessing the data. For example, suppose we have stored the data in some files, Excel file, PDF or Word. One of the clerk, university clerk, need the information. See, every time I am giving the examples. Why? It is easy to understand the concept with the example. So suppose a university clerk want to retrieve the information or name of the students who are live in some postal code number. For example, in 416001, add this postal code, who are the students or what are the names of the student with this postal code. Suppose the clerk wants this information. The clerk has 2 options. Either take the name list of the students and manually find out the students whose postal code is 416001. It is very time consuming, correct? If there are thousands of students, if there are 5,000, 10,000 students, it is not possible to find out in such a way manually. The second option is that clerk asks the developer to to write an application program. Correct? To write an application program, and using that program, the clerk can retrieve the name of the student with postal code particular 416001, for example. So in that case, both the options are not convenient. Why? Because see, after some time, the same clerk need the information of the student with this course ID or with the credits is equal to 20 or more than 20 credits. The same clerk need the name of the students whose credits are greater than 20. So in that case, again there are two options. Either the clerk should manually take the list of the students, find out manually the name of the students whose credits are more than 20. Again, it is time consuming. So again, the second thing is that he asks the developer to write the program to retrieve the data. Means the developer every time as the need changes, need to write a new application program. And both the options are not convenient, or we can say it is unsatisfactory. And that's why in this typical file processing system, it is very difficult to access the data, particular data. And these all are avoided in the database management system, because in database management system, we use the query language to retrieve the data. You writing a simple query, we can retrieve the required data. A single line query we can use to access the data. Now, the next one, data isolation. Now, what happens? This information in typical file processing system or traditional file processing system, the information is may be stored in multiple file formats. And every time the new developer may write a program in different programming languages. So first may write in C++, another may come and write in Java, next may come and write in .NET. It may be possible that developer write the application programs in different formats, and file formats may be also different. Some files may be in the Excel format, some files may be PDF, Word, etc. So in that case, it is very difficult to access the data and retrieve the data. Next, integrity. Again, this is very important concept, integrity. Now, what is meant by integrity, or what is meant by constraint? Suppose you are seeing the bank database. So in bank database, is it possible the bank balance should be less than -1 or less than 0? When we store the bank balance or data related to the balance, can we use less than 0 values? No, correct? It is not possible to give the balance less than 0. Means every time whenever we enter the value for balance, it should be greater than 0. Similarly, if we consider the department budget should be greater than 0. We consider the salary of the instructor, it should be greater than 0. Means what is it? Greater than 0, account balance should be greater than 0. What is it? It is nothing but the constraint which is applied on the data. Every time whenever we enter the value for the balance, it should be greater than 0. That is one of the constraints. Another example, we say telephone number of the students or the telephone number of the instructor. Can we store the character values? No, we cannot store the character value. So in that case, what we need to do? We need to give a constraint that the values whatever we store for the telephone number should be numeric values. No characters are allowed. So that is another kind of constraint. Have you understood what is meant by constraint? So these are called as the integrity constraint or consistency constraint. So whenever we enter the data, the values, the database must satisfy these kind of constraints. And so many constraints are there that we are going to see in the next units. So that is integrity constraint, and it is very difficult to apply the integrity constraint in traditional file processing system. See why? Because in traditional file processing system, suppose we want the account balance should be greater than 0. So the developer again needs to write a program and give some constraint account balance greater than 0. After some days or after some time, Suppose the bank policy has been changed and the balance should be greater than 1000. Below 1000, account balance is not allowed. So in that case, what happens? The developer again to write a new application program or update the previous application program to apply such kind of new constraint. So again, it is time consuming and costly. In the database system, again, as we are using the query language, applying such kind of integrity constraint, it is very easy. Similarly, telephone number, numeric value, applying such value in simple file processing system, it is difficult. Okay, it is difficult. So instead of that, we need to use the database, which gives the simple way for the integrity problem. Now, drawbacks of using the file system. Next, atomicity. Now, atomicity means what? Again, it is one of the important concepts. As we are using the computer system which may fail, correct, or subject to failure. Once it is failed, it may lead with the data inconsistency. So, to avoid this, what we need here, whatever the information before the application or before the execution of the transaction, the same information should be after the execution. Now see, for example, I am giving you a simple example here. Okay, suppose we consider here account A and account B. With account A initially 1000 rupees and account B initially 2000 rupees. And we are transferring $50 from account A to account B. Now, suppose we start with the transaction where $50 transfer from account A to account B. Now, what happens here? Suppose we are starting the execution of the transaction and 50 rupees are removed or debited from account to A, and after that if it is debited from account A, then in account A remains 950 rupees. And suppose after deducting the value from account A, if a failure occurs, then what happens? The 50 rupees are not transferred in account B. So account B value remains as it is 2000. See once again. Suppose initially account A has 1000 rupees, account B has 2000 rupees, and we have to transfer 50 from account A to account B. Suppose after deducting the value from account A, if a failure occurs, then at the end of transaction what happens? 950 remains in account A, while in account B 2000 as it is. So before execution of the transaction, the total amount is 3000. While after the execution, the total amount is 2950. So whether it is correct? No. What happens here? Data inconsistency. Why it happens? Because failure occurs before completion of the transaction. So that means the transaction or execution should be atomic. It should execute all whatever the operations or not at all. So transfer funds from one account to another should be either complete or not happen at all. So that is atomicity, and this is it is very difficult to provide atomicity in traditional file processing system. Next, now the next one. Everyone clear with atomicity concept? Yes or no? Please give the reply. Have you clear with the atomicity? Atomicity means every information or the transaction or every operation should be completed. Whatever the values or information prior to the execution should be same after the execution. Now the next, concurrent access and multiple users. Now see, concurrent access means what? To increase the performance of the system, overall performance of the system, most of the database system allowed multiple users to act simultaneously. Multiple users can update the data simultaneously. Again, I am giving you the same example. Suppose in our typical traditional file processing system, we are using one of the clerk. Suppose there is a department with access. When we consider to increase the performance of the system, most of the files or operating system allow multiple users to update the data simultaneously. Again, we are going to consider the same example or example related to the balance. Suppose particular department has some balance and that department, suppose the clerk or the whatever, want to use the information. Suppose department A has a balance at 1000. Now, if this department, suppose the clerk of this department, two clerks are there simultaneously accessing or updating the data. Suppose the particular one clerk update the information or debited some amount from this department. So from 1000, suppose he has debited 50 rupees and another clerk at the same time removed 100 rupees or debited 100 rupees from the same department. So what happened? This clerk write the value 950 while this clerk write the value 900. And which value is stored at the file or in the file? The clerk who write the information at the end. So that information is stored in the file. Now see, once again, suppose the department A has some account balance that is 1000 and two clerks simultaneously updating the database or the information or the balance. Why? Because concurrent multiple users allowed to update the data. Suppose the first clerk update $50 or debited $50 from this department and the second clerk at the same time debited $100 from this particular department budget or balance. Then what happens? The first clerk writes the value 950 while second clerk writes the value 900. Now which value is stored in the database? The clerk who writes it at the last. Suppose this clerk write it the last, then 950 stored in the file. If this clerk write it at the end, then 900 is stored in the file. Whether both are correct? No, both are not correct. Why? Because this clerk debited 50 and this clerk debited 100 means at the end the value remains in the balance is 850. But it store incorrect information in the file and that again result in data inconsistency. So in that case, to avoid such kind of data inconsistency because concurrent access, we need to control this concurrent access. We need to control this concurrent access and that is controlled. This control is not possible in traditional file processing system but it is possible with the database system because it provides different control protocols to concurrent access or control the concurrent access. And the last drawback is security problem. To provide security to this file processing system is very difficult. Not every user or not necessary that every user see the entire database. Is it necessary for the student to see the salary of faculty? Not necessary. Is it necessary for a particular teacher to see other teachers' salary? Not necessary. Is it necessary that a particular clerk see the entire balance of the institute? Not necessary. So, in that case, not necessary that every user see the entire database. Only some part or abstract view is provided to the data, that particular user. For which purpose? For security purpose. And that cannot possible to provide in the traditional file processing system, while security we can provide in the database system by providing the abstract view of the data. And what is that view? We are going to see in the next lecture. So, database system offers solution to all above the problem. So, I repeat it only the names again. The drawbacks of using traditional file processing system: data redundancy and data inconsistency, difficulty in accessing the data, data isolation, integrity problem, then atomicity of updates, atomicity problem, then concurrent access by multiple users, and security problems. So to avoid all these drawbacks, we use the database management system. And one